Hello and welcome back to Athlantic, the show where an American and a Brit take turns crossing the pond to learn about sports culture in the UK and the USA. I am your resident Brit, Harry Collins.
And I am your resident American, Adam Jordan. As you can see, I'm still in the getting to move in, or getting the space, my new space, decorated. So, hopefully we will have a space that's, a little bit more permanent soon, but we're getting there.
Might I say, for a temporary decoration, we've got 1860 Munich, we've got a baseball mitt and some orange ball, a wonderful unnamed football jersey in the back, and then on the left, two wonderful egg-shaped balls. I think you've done a wonderful job for a temporary a temporary set.
Oh, I left the other. I have another version of the little. It's actually a little pink ball that's in that glove, but I left it out of my reach, so I can't go get it and show you what it is. But is a Spalding high bounce ball, signed by Richard Schiff. If that means anything to anybody.
If you get bored in this episode, you help yourself.
Yeah, there. Actually, if you can beat me in any sort of sporting competition, it is yours. So that's just for anybody. Or you could break into my apartment, I guess.
Wait, what?
Yeah, we're going to make that just a prize. Anybody...
The signed one?
No. This was a dumb bit that just... I'm
absolutely game.
You're not taking this. No.
Not. I don't need the signed one, but hey... if that's a competition, tomorrow morning on TikTok you will see the videoed Harry versus Adam pitch and putt footage from your trip over, I will expect that.
Yeah.
No, and we could if there's a bouncy ball on the line.
That's true. You know what? We need to have some sort of like trophy, even if it's just a ball being passed back and forth, or we could have like a different prize thing. Ashes. Like the ashes or like the Stanley Cup. Anyway, I wanted to start this. I'm still stop. You're gonna talk about the Stanley Cup in ways that are disrespectful. Anyway, we are. They just came out with a picture the other day of the engraving has just been done for the Florida Panthers. It's pretty cool for like.
Is it even more ugly?
Okay, and that said, I was already about to say that I'm still eating my depression for BBC Sounds being ripped away from myself and the 10 other people that listen to it here outside of the UK, and I'm doing so. I'm drowning my sorrows with my favorite British candy, squashies.
So good.
They're incredible. You introduced me to them. I feel like you introduced me to a drug because they're addictive. Yes. And now I've found a way to get my fix now that I live in New York and have a place that imports British candy literally 2 blocks from my apartment. Not great. So a little show and tell to start. I've also got another bit of candy. It's bubble gum that is actually sports related that I just kind of want your reaction to. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but Big League Chew bubble gum. Let me open it up first of all. The official bubble gum of USA Baseball. Go ahead.
Immediate response without seeing the word bubble gum, which is not anywhere near the biggest couple of words on that kind of disgusting little package. I immediately thought that was chewing tobacco.
So,
and I was like, "Oh, Adam, no!"
Adam has started
taking the loss of BBC Sounds, which weirdly is getting its 5th mention in 2 episodes.
Watch
really badly.
Watch and listen in real time as Adam develops gum cancer. No, look at the inside too. It's shredded bubble gum, and it's supposed to.
I actually kind of like that.
It's supposed to be like. It's supposed to mimic chewing tobacco. It was kind of, and I haven't like looked into the story that in depth, but on the back it has a story. But basically, there were a couple of baseball players that like invented it one day, And it like they kind of made it to look and like kind of feel like chewing tobacco. I don't know if it was a way to like try to quit or if it was like a whatever, but it is my favorite gum. It is so good, this grape version.
Wow.
I'm not even like a like I do actually, one of my vices is that I do like grape gum, and I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I think it tastes good. And this is my favorite. So anyway, I thought you would just. I thought the.
I like it.
I thought the British mind would enjoy.
I like it.
a little.
Beyond. I mean, I like how they keep the package looking like it's come straight out of the late '60s.
Yep.
I like that when you tear it open, there seems to be several loose strings of bubble gum.
Yep.
I like that you had to tear the whole
Oh yeah.
top off.
Yep.
You can't reseal that. That's gonna go bad.
You just like you fold it down. You just like do it and the package stays. Like it's actually
Christ,
like
you just
it
crinkled
works.
that like Captain America would fold it. Corrugated iron door.
I mean, it's
all right.
Okay. Anyway, so go. Well, hold on.
Well,
is this show and tell related to what we're going to lead into?
yeah.
Okay. Can I have one more? I'm gonna grab the mic back real quick because
Fine.
I want to
Show and tell is famously a good bit for a podcast.
Yes, it is. Well, this is a visual podcast.
You can
So
watch this, yeah,
I
and you
want to. You can watch it literally on Spotify or on YouTube. Like there's
we're
like
here.
unless you're in the car or something, like there is no like watch us. Anyway, I have tried a different flavor of squashies because I've never actually had this flavor. I still prefer the original raspberry milk flavor, but I was celebrating Wimbledon a little bit, which is just wrapped up recently with strawberry and cream flavor. Anyway, Harry, does Wimbledon mean anything to you?
Well, it does mean something to me. This year, for the first time, me and you will have seen this on the TikTok that we posted a week or two ago. I finally made it. I've never been. I've lived in London for 5 years or so. 4 years, 5 years. And every year I've said I wanted to go. And because I've either had like exams, because I did my master's. If you didn't listen to the first episode, I did my master, had my exams and my dissertation. Both fell in the middle of the summer, so that sort of cuts off that early July section.
And you didn't exactly live, like, you were not living in, like, North London. Like, you're not far from Wimbledon.
It's, as we found out, as producer Dan found out for us, it's like a 6-minute bike ride on a dodgy little line bike.
And that's from your current apartment.
That's from my
Your
current
old
apartment. I lived
apartment.
closer, yeah. I lived way closer. It was genuinely probably a 4-minute heated, spirited bike ride. But despite that, I barely tried to go. Every year I'm in the ballot. I've never been I think I was actually successful the first year I came, and I didn't take up the tickets because I realized that it conflicted with my schedule.
Sure.
But I haven't been able to get the ballot you get for specific courts, the show courts, typically Court 1 and Court 2. Centre Court, Court 1. But yeah, this year we rallied some of my friends, our friends of the show, and we joined the queue. Not to play into a national stereotype, but oh good lord, the British love queuing.
Indeed.
I think the queue at Wimbledon is a really good preparation for those big moments of national mourning that we had with Her Majesty the Queen, for instance, because while this queue was not 14 miles long, we joined it at like 6:15, 6:20 in the morning, and we were already 6,700th in this line to get in.
Can you
which
imagine
was fine.
if Her Majesty the Queen had passed like directly after Wimbledon and like somebody had just queued to get to center court?
You're spending multiple days of your life you have to do it.
Wow.
We
Good on
joined the
you.
queue
Good on
early
you,
in the
Lizzie.
morning, and we only got in at about. Good on you, Lizzie.
All right.
We only got in at about friend of the show.
Friend of the show. Friend
we
of the
only
show,
managed to
Her
get
Majesty.
we got into the grounds at about 20 past 12. But because it rained that morning, we didn't miss any tennis. It was amazing. It was everything I wanted it to be. The TikTok I did has it's like a guide to doing Wimbledon properly. And spoiler alert, if you're drunk for most of it, you've done it most of the way fine. Because I didn't get the balloted tickets, we weren't able to get onto the show courts unless you join the resale queue, which is like a virtual queue, and you're invited to come and basically buy someone else's seat once they've vacated, once they've left the site. And that was only a tenner. So all in, it cost me 40 quid to watch 2 hours of amazing tennis. On court 1, I managed to watch an American, Taylor Fritz, who made it to the semi-final, play Diallo, his Canadian rival. I also managed to watch Amanda Anisimova, who also made it to the women's final, which was really cool. And yeah, it was such fun. We had strawberries and cream. They let you bring in your own alcohol, so if you get creative with that, you can stay pretty buzzed all day.
Yeah.
You bring in your own food, or you got food there. It was amazing. The grounds held a certain prestige. Everything is gorgeous and manicured, and it's not. And I remember I was gonna make this likeness. It is not the same as, but I was like, oh, this has a very similar aura, and I don't really like that word, to something that you did recently back in March or April, where you got this.
Yeah.
So what I've done, if friends of the pod don't know, it was Adam's birthday recently. My show and tell is I got you a hat.
Let's go! Oh my god! Wait, that's actually so cool.
Yeah, there's your. I think they are very similar. I think they're very cool.
They go very well together.
If you want this one, let me know. They do go very well together. So the next time that you and I see each other at the arrivals gate in JFK, you can have that.
Thank you, my friend. That is so cool.
You're welcome.
Genuinely so cool. And I was gonna that was gonna be one of my questions. That is something that we talked about. Like, you texted me this very briefly. I was curious because I figured, like, Wimbledon is somewhere that I've always kind of revered in a similar way to Augusta National Golf Club. Obviously, Augusta is, like, such a secretive place that I think it just adds to, like, the mystique of it. But, like, was it, like, I feel like there has to have been, like, some level of, like, you know, I don't know if reverence is the right word, but yeah.
I think an interesting way of putting it would be Augusta National Park. Sorry, is that what's called? Augusta National Park?
I'm sorry, it's Augusta National Golf Club, but Augusta National Park
it is. Yeah,
is
it's
my
a
new
national
favorite
park.
thing.
It should have been.
Yeah.
National Golf Club has
it should be a national park.
Prestige and that's exclusivity to it that I don't think can be replicated. If it does, I don't know what it is in the UK.
The All England Lawn Tennis National Trust.
Yeah, that would be good.
There you go.
The Wimbledon was amazing, but it's got branding. It's got they actively encourage you to use technology, so it doesn't have that sort of that primacy where they want you to be engaged and they want you to appreciate the lore and the mystique of the place. And that's something that I actually really am now sort of itching to get. I think we're both in the ballot for, or we're both on the waiting list to be on the ballot for Augusta when it rolls around next year. And that I think I have to put on my sports bucket list. But to that end, if Augusta is like, a Rolls-Royce showroom where everything is impeccable and everyone is silent and everything wafts and it looks as beautiful as it should do, I think Wimbledon was like Harrods. It was like everything was fabulous. It was so incredibly English, so in a good way.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, and forgive me because I think this is maybe something that you and I will disagree on. I think of Augusta National Park as being not quintessentially American. I think it's and that might be a really naive view, and I'm sure there are gorgeous golf courses, but when I think of Augusta, I actually think of like National Trust places in the UK which are manicured. We have a plethora of, palaces and things where the grounds are kept like that. And whenever I watch the Masters, I always think of, these incredible, I live very close to a place called Stowe, which is a sort of private school, but it's also sort of a palatial National Trust property, and the grounds are gorgeous and they're absolutely perfect. You don't get the same kind of vibe as that at Wimbledon, but it's sort of replaced by almost offensively gorgeous British, brands, and everything is well managed. Everything's like well kept.
Yeah.
But you're still very aware that you're in the middle of a city. You can see out. You can see the London skyline. It's fantastic to sort of be in, and everyone's super excited. It's also super crowded.
Yeah, sure. I think that's also why it itches my brain so much. Like the desire to get there is like such an itch for me, because it feels so quintessentially English, and the Anglophile that I am, that is it feels like it's like Disney World for you guys.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah.
That's far better. Ignore everything I said. Cut all of that out. Sorry for wasting 2 minutes of your life, everyone. Adam nailed it.
There you go.
Now, it doesn't have the insincerity of Disney World.
Sure.
And I think that's an interesting thing to put on Disney World. But
are you telling me that Mickey Mouse isn't real?
Oh, you're gonna have to sit down for this one.
No.
I can't do this line. It's not. That almost sounds like I'm disrespecting it. It's not that, but the way that it's maintained did feel a little bit like a theme park more than like a sports venue, which is crazy, because it's an active sports venue year round. We only get excited about it for Wimbledon.
Oh, sure. I never even thought of that.
And of course, the quality of tennis is amazing.
Right.
Everything's lovely. It's not extortionately priced. I thought it'd be way more expensive once you're in, but they don't really take advantage of you.
Interesting.
And everyone there is just having a really good day.
That's so cool.
I'm sure it's the same.
I mean, it is like the peak English summer thing.
Yeah.
And that's just
right.
such a vibe, also, as the kids say.
It's a real point of national pride as well.
Yeah.
And that was something interesting to be a part of, because we watch it every year, but when you're there and you feel the atmosphere, that was really cool.
There you go. Well, I will say I do want to go back to your point on the Augusta National feeling like American, or quintessentially
I knew
American.
I struck a nerve there.
You did. And it is. I will keep this brief, because I don't want to. I want to get into part 3 of our miniseries. But I think in terms of reflection of America's class divide, and certainly in its racial divide, in it at least in the makeup of Augusta National from before, but definitely still to this day, there is. It is an interesting. I think that there are some interesting lines to be drawn between kind of the American story and the story of Augusta National. One that is. Yeah. So again, I don't. that is a story.
That's such a nuanced answer. When I was like, I like how the trees look like they do in Oxfordshire, and you're like, yeah, no, it really mimics the socio-racial divide in the US.
We should have kept this Adam. We should keep this to Love Island level discourse. I am in on this season. Anyway, we have a lot to talk about. We have a whole part 3 of this miniseries on sports and technology, and the relationship between the two, how technology affects the sports that we love on either side of the Atlantic. I think this part 3 will do the same one, because this one is more about how technology has affected how we directly play sports, and how that has affected the actual play over the years. And technology in this case means a lot of things. It means actual physical technology and devices. It means new ways of thinking. It involves health and training science, and how we think about the human body beyond the capabilities of an athlete within a specific sport, but just how we think of, how medicine has advanced over time. So
Sure.
the way that I think that I want to kick this off is a conversation that you and I had sort of indirectly not too long ago, which is that sports is inherently a practice of imperfect humans chasing perfection. You're trying in whatever sport it is, whether it is racing and trying to achieve the perfect racing line for the perfect lap and do that X number of times, however many times you need to go around the circuit. In baseball, it is getting a hit every single time you come to the plate, or as a pitcher, throwing a strike every single time that you face a batter. In soccer, it is figuring out a way to stop every single opponent's shot, whereas also on the offense trying to break down an opponent's defense and try to do so in the most efficient way possible, score goals as much as humanly possible. Same thing with hockey, same thing with basketball. You're trying to shoot from the most efficient parts of the floor to score as many points as you can, limiting your team to the other team to as few points as possible. Wow, Adam just explained how sports work. Great, what an episode! Absolutely
nice. Thanks, everyone.
Stuff. Yep. All right, we're off. What's interesting is all of these sports have in their own ways been affected by technology and the scientific evolution over the 20th and 21st centuries that have made athletes better and better for longer and longer in their careers, both on the front end and the back end of careers. Athletes are playing at elite levels for longer than they ever have. Young players are rounding into form and reaching their potential more quickly than they ever have. There's certainly arguments to be made about overuse injuries and how injuries can pop up, or more major injuries can pop up at earlier ages by younger athletes playing a lot. But we have better methods now for healing injuries and getting players back onto their field, court, whatever surface of play. What's interesting is, in my mind, and I think in your mind a little bit too, this is getting players closer and closer to the ceiling of what is athletically possible, and getting people into places where they're able to come closer to that level of perfection, which you could argue could never be achieved.
Sure.
That said, I think the question before us is, does reaching that ceiling correspond to the best sport, to the best competition, to the best to what sports inherently is supposed to be, which is a exceedingly human endeavor? And I truly come to this without a predetermined sense of what the answer is, because on some level, of course, it's always going to be human. I'm genuinely curious as to your thoughts on this, and I'm excited for this discussion.
So, immediately, I think we can't have this conversation as a blanket across sports. When we're talking about team sports, I think ultimately reaching this ceiling does not necessarily correspond with being good sport. If everyone, the theory that everything is evolving into crabs. This is a real
Harry. I'm
real biological
with this.
theory.
What?
It's genuinely. Please, just go and listen to someone far more qualified than I to talk about this. Evolutionarily, everything will become a crab at some point. Okay. The crab is apparently the perfect form. If every team in every sport is working towards being a crab, ultimately the margins will get so fine that it's not entertaining.
I will say Southend United FC getting pretty close.
They should.
I mean, they got shrimp on the badge. They're getting close.
Yeah,
that was terrible. Hey, that was terrible.
I'm not sure that stays in.
Oh, it does. It stays in. We're staying rolling.
But I think what's an important thing to consider is, do you know what the Olympic motto is?
Isn't it like higher, faster, stronger, something like that?
You are so right. It's faster, higher, stronger together.
Quitius altius fortius.
Yes, perfect. Wow. Oh my God. Hi.
Thank you, Latin.
If we're talking about athletics, reaching the top, reaching what is naturally, and this is an important thing because we're also at a moment where the sort of that doping Olympics, it's not Olympics, but you know, there's that doping athletics championship where I think off the top of my head it's 12 or 15 sports where athletes are encouraged to push their bodies beyond the natural limit. We're not talking about that. If we talk about one of the most pure essence sports competitions, the Olympics, yes, reaching that ceiling is and should always be the absolute goal. And I think the way that, as you said, we've used technology to supplement diet and health and rest, recovery, technique, also like literal hardware. You know, there are like Nike running shoes that are banned from marathon runners because they've got a carbon plate that is like unnaturally springy.
The rocket, I think they were nicknamed the rocket suits, the swimsuits. I think it might have been Nike debuted in the like late 2000s, early 2010s that were deemed to, they made swimmers too fat, gave them too much of an advantage.
Yeah, and then they cut them. I think in the Olympics, specifically when we're talking about individual athletic competition, yes, we all want to see people naturally get to the best humans can be. And if technology supplements that, I think that's a great thing. When we're talking about team sport, I think it's the opposite. And when we're talking about reaching that ceiling, I think we're talking about methodology of like play and tactics and techniques. I think actually the closer we get to that apex, the less exciting and the less enjoyable sport becomes. Because if you thought of like your childhood favorite sports player, I doubt they were your favorite player because they were a good water carrier and they did the most efficient thing every time. When I think about the stars of my icons as a child, I think about David Beckham and Johnny Wilkinson, who were incredible at a couple things, and they had to be a little bit maverick to make the use of those skills.
It's called bend it like Beckham. It's not
it
run
sure
to the
is.
right spot like
exactly.
Random, insert player here.
Beckham has incredible assist numbers in the Premier League because he would take the chance. He would back himself and take the chance on his wand of a right foot, delivering that textbook curling ball that his strikers could run onto. But every time he does that, that's a risk. In certain sports, we're seeing patterns of play that are developing that are the same over and over again because they present efficiently the most realistic chance of scoring, maximized points, like in basketball. So can you tell me, are we reaching crab in basketball?
I think you would hear a lot of people argue, yes, that we reach. I really need to read about this crab theory.
I really hope that's a real thing, that I haven't just picked that up somewhere and it's a joke.
I feel like that rings a bell. But I it's just silly enough. I need to look it up. Yes, so I think you'd hear a lot of people say that. I certainly feel, as somebody who has watched a lot of college basketball and watched that change over time, has not watched a ton of NBA in my life, compared to other sports that I've watched. I hear a lot of discourse about it, and from what I do watch, it does feel like a sport that, on the men's professional side, has maybe not been solved, but is pretty close to that. I mean,
Sure.
there's you think about Stephen Curry being an absolutely revolutionary player in terms of kind of ushering in an era along with other contemporaries like Klay Thompson, James Harden, and certainly a lot of great coaching that figured out and analytics that have figured out that the 3-point shot is the most efficient shot in basketball. Basically, there's two most efficient shots in basketball: the one that gives you the most points and the one that has the highest chance of going in. So, if you look at a spray chart of basketball shots attempted on average in the NBA, or just every shot attempted in the NBA in 20 years ago, it would be a relatively even distribution. You'd have more closer to the basket, but then as you get away from the basket, it would be fewer and fewer. Now you have it so you look at the same charts 20 years later in the year 2025, or I guess the previous year, and pretty much every single shot, for the most part, 90% of shots are being taken either right next to the basket or up on the 3-point arc, because that's what's most efficient. That's what we go back to the fundamental goal is to score more points than the other team. So why not give yourself the best chance to score those points? So what's where that has led is the NBA has struggled with. I feel like there's different people having different takes on what's wrong with the NBA all the time. I don't think that's necessarily the right question. I think the question is, what do you want? What should the NBA be? Should it be a league that tries to kind of show off the best skills of the best basketball players in the world, or should it be one that is trying to create a competition that the most exciting looking competition and the most aesthetically pleasing competition, satisfying competition of any sport in the world? And I think there's great arguments on both sides of that. I don't think I'm qualified, certainly, to give that answer. I will say that another piece of it with basketball that has been much maligned is load management, and I think you actually see this probably in soccer a lot too now, with so many different competitions. But players, because and this is an instance where what's best for the athlete might not be what's best for the fan, is rightfully so, as teams and players want to avoid injuries. The way that you avoid injuries, or one of the best ways to avoid injuries, is to rest your body and to keep yourself from playing this incredible grind of
It's funny that
a season over and over. That means that some fan that traveled from far away, that's going to their first ever NBA game, may not get to see LeBron James play in a game that he got a ticket to see LeBron James specifically. So that's a debate that's been happening for years, and the NBA has tried to kind of curb load management in all sorts of ways, but without getting jumping on a soapbox for 15-20 minutes and trying to explain a nuanced issue. It is, I think the NBA is the league where it has been the most acute, certainly in terms of team sports in the US.
Right. And it's acute because there's a clear, analytics have shown that there's a clear, most efficient way of scoring points.
Yes, and in that way, like, it almost feels like you go back to that word solved.
Right. So if that's the case, and you've sort of hypothesized there that maybe the NBA needs to potentially move towards a slightly more entertaining product, albeit through potentially artificial means by changing the rules or something. Can you tell me what the MLB banned for the same reason?
So MLB banned what's called banning the shift. So this had been a thing for several years, but when a player comes to the plate, let's say a right-handed batter, is more likely in most cases to hit to the left side of the field, or a left-handed batter is more likely to hit to the right side of the field. If there's a hitter that the analytics point to, or history points to, saying that this guy hits primarily to this side of the field, to one side of the field over another, we're going to shift most of our players from their normal positions. The third baseman might stand where the shortstop normally stands. The shortstop might play on the other side of second base. The second baseman might go into the outfield, and the outfielders might move over to different kind of parts of the outfield as well. We're going to shift those players over to try to make it more likely that whatever ball that this batter hits finds somebody's glove. MLB found that the numbers panned out as all teams kind of realized, hey, this is the best way to play defense. MLB realized that one of the more exciting parts of their game, which is when the most exciting part of the game, which is when a ball is hit into play and base runners are running around and there's not an out made and the fielders are trying to get the ball in and find, get somebody out on the base paths, that part of the game was diminishing quite a bit. So I think it was 2 years ago, Major League Baseball banned the shift and basically enforced rules. Yeah, they enforced rules that said, hey, a second baseman and a shortstop have to play on their normal side of the base, and there's some other slight limitations. You have to be within if you're an infielder, you have to start the play within the infield dirt. So it changed how teams could line up and changed how the game looked.
Wow. Are there other? Okay, so that's interesting because.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I was just saying you were about to ask something else about if there were other.
I think what's interesting where we're talking primarily so far about American sports, comes down to this theory about discrete and continuous sports as a metric for how not as a metric as an environment for discussing how easily a sport can be analyzed.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to see in a sport that I think is we would define as a discrete sport, that rules have been made to enforce and protect the sort of ultimately it's watchability, right?
Yeah, that
rule is only entertainment.
That rule is purely for entertainment. There's nothing. It's not cheating. It's not it's not something that's like, yes, it's gaining an advantage, but every team can do it, so it's not really whatever. And because we discussed this beforehand, a discrete sport being a sport where there's an opening action, there's the action that happens in the play, and then there's a closing action that ends play for that time being, like a hit in baseball or
pitching
a ball in baseball, whereas a continuous sport can be back and forth like basketball or soccer.
Yeah, for instance, baseball and cricket are pretty discrete sports. The most discrete sport would be bowling, where it's the same action every time, it's the exact same environment. There are league standard bowling lanes. You are aiming at the same things every first bowl, and potentially the only area where it becomes less discrete in bowling is when you've not hit a strike and you have to aim for specific pins. What I think is really interesting is that the MLB were courageous enough to add a rule that protects the watchability of that sport, because it protects it. Ultimately, sport, like, it's an entertainment product. And if we didn't have that rule, do you think the focus for player development would be to vary, like, the skill in the batter to aim the ball, or just, would there be more of an emphasis on batters catching a little bit more air and trying to, swing for the fence? I know that's always the aim. Everyone steps up and wants to hit a home run. But without that rule, where do you think tactically baseball goes?
Two things. One, directly answering that, before they banned the shift, I was actually of the opinion I didn't like the idea of banning it, and it wasn't because I liked the shift so much as I didn't love the idea of kind of having like extra lines or like plays like penalties like that in baseball, because baseball is that's so kind of foreign to the game that it's
Sure.
very different. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. I was very much pro, okay, if the fielders are all lining up in one area, I understand that these players are professionals and have done it, a certain way for a really long time, but adapt and try to hit it the other way.
Yeah.
And, I feel like that was thought of as the more like old man yells at cloud take. And maybe so, but that, to me, that felt like more of a solution in my mind. To your other point about like just trying to hit a home run, that's something that's kind of that baseball has actively tried to. The shift ban sort of helped with this, but has actively tried to change a bit as well. There's something that a term that you'll hear called the 3 true outcomes, which is a home run, a strikeout, or a walk. So either you strike out at the plate, you make an out immediately, the pitcher messes up and throws 4 balls, and you just get like a free path to the base, or you just hit a home run. And like the 3 true outcomes was basically what baseball was becoming, because you weren't getting so many like you weren't getting players kind of getting those hits into gaps where they have the opportunity to get doubles and triples as much. It was very much just kind of like the pitchers are getting better at striking players out because they're throwing harder than ever before because of training technology, because of all these tools that they have access to, where they can focus on different things and how they release the ball. It's just, all of this is very interconnected. And so, okay, so my next, I guess, question is, I'm certain that there are analytics in other sports. In sports over there. I feel like cricket is almost a perfect 1-to-1 comparison. Baseball there with how you move fielders around, but like, does football have something? Have kind of these crises.
I'm going to read you a quote.
Oh, great.
We don't do this often.
You came prepared.
This is going to be a fun thing that we're going to do more on Athlantic. Christopher Clemens, who was the head analyst of the German national men's football team, the month after Germany won the 2014 World Cup, said the following. He's the head of analytics for the winning German national team. We're increasingly convinced that there is a lack of data that provides any real information about the things that make you successful in football.
Interesting. Is that like an argument of everything cancels out?
The opposite of a discrete sport is a continuous sport, as Adam mentioned earlier. Whereas in cricket, the bowler is going to bowl the ball, and it's either going to be hit it's going to be struck by the batsman, it's going to strike the wicket, or it's going to go past the wicket. Those are the 3 only permutations. And once one of those things happen, there are only a very limited number of permutations for what can happen next. If the batter hits it, it either goes long, it goes short, it gets caught, it doesn't. In football, if you picture a throw-in and a right back has thrown the ball, he can throw it any direction, so long as it's onto the pitch. And if I'm going to throw it to you and you're being...
Sorry. Did you ever play Wii bowling?
Yes.
And you had you could exactly throw the ball back.
Yeah. And they all
jump a lot.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm picturing.
Yeah, that would be good. We should do that. In football, if I'm making a throw in, there are a limited number of permutations. It goes to a player, it doesn't, it goes out, whatever. If it goes to my teammate, as I would like it to, there are now another host of permutations. Because there is no shot clock and because there is no break and play, like the ball comes back to home plate or whatever, it becomes the number of permutations for what's going to happen next quickly becomes impossible to calculate. There's an excellent video on this on the Tifo Football YouTube channel, which I highly recommend you check out. It is pretty hard for any prevailing tactic in football to be sort of dominant for more than a season or so.
Sure.
And we see in football, we've seen these incredible cyclical. The tactics is so cyclical that we're now this season probably bracing ourselves for either the return of the traditional 4-4-2, where you have two strikers, one big one, one little one, that was popular in the late 90s into like the early 2000s, and then it was broken in the mid 2000s by the 4-4-3. Or we're going to have something called the W.
4-3-3, right?
4-3-3.
Yeah.
What did I say?
You said 4-4.
I can count.
I mean, maybe there's
okay,
maybe there's. I mean, the 4-4-3 is really effective. You have just an extra.
Yeah, the new tactic of playing more people is really good. Some teams are lining up now with like this W shape that was popular in like post-war football.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, what's really interesting is when you see like tactical pioneers like Arsene Wenger, Jose Mourinho, or Pep Guardiola, their imprint on the game quickly is copied. Firstly, it becomes vogue to value the players that make these systems work, and everyone looks for similar players. But also the whole league or the whole European football base rushes to grab and copy the dominant tactics, that suddenly the outliers find ways of playing around them, and they, a new tactical innovation works really well. In 17-18 or 18-19, Sheffield United were promoted. They had very little chance of staying in the Premier League until they started using overlapping centre-backs. The centre-back has traditionally had a very simple role, and it's to stay right in the middle at the back and be like a pivot player for passing. But these guys were taking off, running down the wing and acting as like an extra attacker, despite leaving, their back line slightly exposed. And Sheffield did really well that year. And then the following year, everyone worked it out and they got relegated. The tactical cycle in football specifically is the one that I can speak to the most, because it's a continuous sport and it's not a discrete sport. It means that I don't think we can solve football, because there are so many variables that there's always a counter, and it's just a race to who can come up with the counter the fastest.
So this is a theme. I feel like I keep responding to your thoughts here with numbers. I've got 2 thoughts. I've got 3 thoughts. I've got 3 thoughts here. Number 1, and I wrote them down so that I didn't remember them. Number 1, it's a similar-ish, though it doesn't sound like it though it sounds like it happens more quickly in soccer and football, with kind of a copycat league sort of thing in hockey. Hockey is notoriously cyclical, notoriously has these copycat. Right now, we are in an era where speed and skill and like size are the 2 biggest attributes. Right, previously we were in an era where it was more speed over everything,
Cool.
or at least more speed and skill than kind of size of player and
Sure.
strength. These things happen very cyclically. Again, to your point, also a continuous action sport. However, something that popped in my mind as you were talking about this is, I wonder if it's not so much a continuous versus discrete sport thing as it is a how much value do different actions have within the sport. So in soccer, every goal is worth one point. Same in hockey, every goal is worth 1 point. In basketball,
Sure.
a shot is worth either 2 or 3 points, which is higher value.
Sure.
In baseball, a hit is worth more or less depending on how many bases you get to. Same in cricket. Although
That's
like we were saying, there might be some, I don't know how much analytics there. In football, keeping possession of the ball and having more, actually I shouldn't go there, because I shouldn't go there. I should go to, in football, a touchdown is worth twice as many points as a field goal. So going for it on 4th down with another chance to have a touchdown rather than settling for 3 points is being looked at as
like
more
like
advantageous.
the Eagles did in 22.
Yep.
Every fourth down, they would really go for
Yeah,
it.
yeah. You're seeing more and more teams just go for it on fourth down rather than punt because you have more opportunities to score points.
Yeah.
Why give the ball back to the defense and give them an easier opportunities to score points? So I wonder if it's more of a value thing. The other question, my third point is more of a question, and feel free to respond to any of these in any order. Is with soccer especially, how is technology, because this is a technology conversation, which also includes analytics, but how has technology kind of affected how players train, how players rest, recover, how does technology factor into all of this, into a changing sport?
3 excellent questions. I remember 2 of them. I really loved your point. I think it was incredibly a really nuanced observation that yes, I think there is. I strongly believe that a continuous sport has a muddling effect on the way that we analyze tactics. I think that, but I believe that completely. However, I concede that your point about one goal equaling 1 point is a really good one. So much so that the Christopher Clemens quote that I gave, you can find in most articles where it talks about new metrics with which people are analyzing football games. Things like expected goals, average possession, time, touches per defensive action. These are metrics that are being not invented. I mean, they exist. These things happen and we can count them, but they are being given value in a sort of, following the Moneyball ethos, where we're like, we need to, if we're looking for value in the way that we play, we cannot just rely on scoring goals.
Yeah.
So because that's always the end game, that's the home run.
Yeah.
So we are looking for, we should value systems that produce higher expected goals. However, because it's a continuous sport, there are so many extra variables when we're talking about the expected goals statistic, which is literally it's a number between 0 and 1 on how likely a shot taken anywhere on the pitch is likely to go in. However, that's such a dumbed down way of thinking about it because it doesn't take into effect where the other 21 players on the pitch are, doesn't take into account which way the striker's facing, what time in the game it is, where the goalkeeper is. There are so many. It gets so blurry so quickly. It's almost just a frivolity to use a statistic like that. So more and more are being introduced all the time. I will say, and this pairs quite your second and your third question. Analytics is working brilliantly, not in the tactical decisions made in football, like I think they are in basketball, but with scouting players. If you, for whatever reason, have come up with a system that you think works in football, it is now easier than ever to track the ability of the players that you want to sign through metrics such as, touches per defensive actions. Actually, not a very good one, but we can track really easily.
You want to find players that are going to fit the system you're trying to build.
Yeah, exactly. This player is really good at crossing from the left-hand side. They're left-footed. This player is worth X. Football's in a really good place for tracking metrics like that. Also, similar to what you said earlier, and I'm going to pivot away and talk about something slightly different. Player recovery, player health are both completely revolutionized in the last decade, particularly. Every player wears like a GPS vest, which gives real-time data on distance covered, time spent in like the high heart rate
VO2
zones.
max.
The VO2 max, yes, perfect. Also, so much attention's being paid to how well players sleep. I recently, this is not a podcast about either of our teams, but I recently took my father on a Father's Day trip to Brighton Hove Albion's training ground, and the half of the training ground is a state-of-the-art hospital dedicated to maximum recovery. and in a specific room in the change ground, there's this amazing piece of equipment that like just helps people recover really quickly. It's amazing. We got told off for posting a picture in the car park, so I'm not actually going to say specifically what it is because I don't want to get told off by Tony Bloom. But yeah, there's like specific rooms with huge £100,000 bits of equipment specifically for helping regeneration and recovery. Something that I'm really excited about in soccer specifically, but will make its way across other sports, is something that is happening at a company called IDA, where recently in the last 10 years or so, we've had the technological advancement that is football boots that are designed for the feet of female players. There is a physical difference between male and female feet, and athletes that have female feet that wear shoes designed for male feet are not supporting other parts of their body in an appropriate way until companies like IDA have made boots that have completely different stud patterns and different like toe boxes that allow the player to spread their weight through their foot in an appropriate way. And way that we're going to see the results of that are, I think, players in the women's game are like 4 times more likely to suffer ACL injuries. Yep. That is because their knees are not the relationship between the way that their ankles twist and their knees twist are different from male players.
Yeah, and there's been a lot less research on just the female body and how women athletes are, how all the sports science that we've done around athletes has mostly been done on male athletes.
Unfortunately, beyond that, most research done on medicine at all is
true.
Done on men.
Yes, very good point. Yeah,
nobody got until the last 40 years. So that's an area where I think technology in a sport that really doesn't use that much technology. It's not Formula One. We're not innovating all the time. No one's racing to have the newest, lightest football boot because they are marginal gains. Having a football boot that's appropriate for the athlete's body, that is a really good step forward in hardware in sport, in football specifically.
Great point.
So yeah, that's something to be excited about.
It's like, sports and technology. I feel like and mirrors a lot of how we speak of technology in general, much as sports as a mirror for society. I think that we can look at it a lot of these advancements positively or negatively. There's certainly different ways to look at all these individual ones. I think one of the ones that is scariest for a lot of people is AI right now. I think there's a lot of question about AI and what it means for humanity and what it means for who we all are as people. I question on what happens with coaching in AI. Does it get to a point where AI is able to replace a coach one day, and then what does that mean for a player? But we can get way far down the line on the decision trees of what happens way many steps down the line. But I think as a whole, as long as we're using technology and these breakthroughs to try to make life better for athletes and to hopefully try to make things more entertaining, I think trying to find the balance of also making the sports more as entertaining as possible for everybody else, I think we'll be in a good spot.
Yeah, I reckon so. I hope
so.
And we've done well to have this conversation without talking about motorsport.
Yeah,
where the onus is on the technology. And the whole point is it's a space race.
Yeah,
and I think that comes with. We've talked for quite a while about doing a more homologated motorsports conversation, and I think something that lends itself really neatly to this is a comparison between sports that value more innovation. I think like Formula One, and then like IndyCar and NASCAR, where the rules are more and more confined, and where teams can find margins there. So don't worry, that conversation's coming.
Yes.
In an episode about like technology in sports playing, we haven't spoken that much about hardware because there's so much.
There's so much. I mean, there's all sorts of devices that can track every sort of everything. I mean, we could be here for 2 hours talking about this. But yeah, I think this has been a good conversation. I don't have a ton more to add, so without further ado.
No, it's all right. Adam, it does not matter if you call it analysis
or analytics. We all love sports, and we've all loved spending time with you. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe here on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify. Leave a like, leave a rating, leave a review. Most importantly, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Love to hear any topics you'd like for us to cover. Like to hear any responses to any points we've made here, or agreements, disagreements, anything else. We welcome engagement. So engagement with our ideas, not engagement with engagement farming. Although I suppose that's helpful too. But yes, check us out on TikTok.
Big thanks to producers Dan, Elizabeth, and Luke.
Yes.
And guys, we're going to see you later.
We'll see you later. Yeah, hopefully a lot more regularly soon. So yeah, bye everyone.
See ya.